Welcome back, everybody, to the Redox Movement. I'm Sean.
And I'm Ricardo here with you.
Francesca here too.
Good to see you again. So we thought we'd dig a little deeper into a prior video where we were sharing our experiences that were related to athletic performance and recovery and value that we're receiving from from using the redox signaling molecules, drinking them and applying them, and tie that back to some of the studies that have been done that explain why we're having these experiences a little bit more deeply. Most of the studies come from the Appalachian State University in North Carolina. And that was, it's out of the Human Performance Laboratory headed by Dr. David Neiman. And he tested a lot of elite athletes in this study, a series of studies actually, and they were pretty profound, the results that they received. I'm going to jump over to Ricardo because we kind of want to go a little bit in sequence, and then I'll jump back in to talk a little bit more about some of the aspects of the study that I find kind of cool.
Oh, thank you, Sean. Yeah, so we wanted to, like Sean mentioned, provide some of the the science of why ASEA, or some of the science that has been done that explains why ASEA is so impactful for athletes and exercise enthusiasts or people that are just trying to get in shape. And this is one study that was done by the lead doctor scientist was Dr. David Neiman of the Appalachian State University at the Human Performance Laboratory in North Carolina. And this one study they did was actually on mice, and they tested, as you see here, they tested the endurance and performance by giving these mice ASEA. And I believe the study, look here, the study was over a 7-day period. They were ingesting ASEA for 7 days. It was a double-blind placebo study. And this is a lot of science jargon here that honestly I don't even understand of it. But the main point is right here at the bottom, if you see, ASEA increased the runtime to exhaustion by 29% for the mice that were injecting ASEA. And it also showed that, and Sean would talk a little bit about this as it pertains to humans, because I believe after they performed this study, they did a study on humans because this one showed that it increased the muscle, how the mice used their fatty acids, and it spared the muscle glycogen by 30%, which is energy that we use when we're working out. So this was a really cool mice study, and mice cannot have a placebo. So it's really beneficial for people as well, as far as endurance and performance, as we've seen and talked about. So I'm gonna pass it on to Sean to talk about the metabolic study that was done, which was really significant.
Thank you. One other thing I want to add on the mice study is that the placebo, there was the double blind piece. The placebo was just salt water,
Yes.
and that was in large part to dispel just the fallacious statement that this is just expensive salt water. So again, mice don't have placebo effects, and mice would not be running 29% longer, harder, if they were taking something that was not real. So the other thing that the study, that the metabolomics study brought forward was, and these were elite athletes, albeit. So it's kind of cool when you can see somebody who's at peak performance seeing improvement. And they did something called ventilatory threshold, or Vo2 max. And so just after 2 weeks of drinking ASEA, these athletes were able to boost this Vo2 max, which I didn't know what this was, but we've all experienced it, but I didn't have a name for it. So it's the amount of oxygen you can assimilate in your body to keep your body going. And These athletes, again, elite athletes, saw their threshold go up by 2 to 3 percentage points. And their timed ventilatory threshold, which is where an athlete is finding that their breath runs out before their muscles actually exhaust. And they call that, the other way to think about that is what's called the runner's wall. It's where you have to stop to slow down drastically to be able to kind of regain your oxygen. So they saw that go up by 12%. So to put this into perspective, somebody who does the Tour de France, for example, the cycling event, they are just the difference between winning that and losing that is 1 to 2 percentage points of VO2 max increase. So these athletes were seeing their thresholds go up by 2 to 3%, as I said. So, and they were doing this, which is an increase of 12%, which means that you can go 12% longer, harder, with just 2 weeks on ASEA. And again, these are elite athletes who are already at, in many ways, peak performance. The other thing that I think is just wild, and somebody, you know, who's looking to maybe even drop a few pounds, this is pretty powerful information. So there's something that happens when you drink these molecules between 15 and 30% before you do any activity. And what that does is mobilize something called your fat stores that you typically have around your abdomen. And the reason that's important is because, as was touched on by Ricardo, when you're using the fat stores, it's a much more efficient use of energy versus the glycogen stores, which are more of a fast hit and tends to be the reason why you're gathering lactic acid in your body and creating soreness. So what I also came to understand about mobilizing this fat store, and that becomes fatty acid that goes into the bloodstream and becomes an energy source, is that fatty acids produce ATP, which is the energy source that fuels your cells. So it's such an efficient way of using energy, and that they produce ATP at 6 to 8% more and times faster than muscle glycogen. So it's again, one of the things that I found when I was able to recover faster and have less soreness. What was happening is that these fatty acid stores were being utilized for the energy that was taken to do the exercise versus the typical glycogen stores that are faster, more tend to build up lactic acid way of using energy. So over to you, Francesca, with regard to just the abundant things that we can get from using these liquids and the gels as a way of improving our athletic performance.
Yeah, absolutely. So just in reference to the Renu 28, there was a study done by Stephen and Associates, as well as Dermatest and their research companies that took the time to validate that these molecules actually do perform a component regarding athletics, and specifically blood flow. So blood flow is increased by approximately 50% when the Renu 28 is used. And specifically when you apply the Renu 28 to a certain muscle group. And so when it comes to the athletic component, athletes that use the Renu 28 specifically on whether it's the upper body or the lower body, depending on what focal point they have in their workout, they will experience 50% increased blood flow. And when you have increased blood flow to a muscle group, you have increased output. So you have more power, you have more ability to perform a task or to overcome a certain load, in particular with weights. So this is significant, especially when it comes to those athletes who are performing and looking to increase their output, to perform better, to lift heavier, to do something better than they did before. And so when it's applied to a specific muscle group, the increase in blood flow helps the muscles to be more productive in performing that task. And then also afterwards, of course, if a muscle is going to exert a lot of energy, exert a lot of force to overcome a certain load, a certain weight, it's going to have to recover. And so when the Renu 28 is again applied to that same muscle group, that increased blood flow helps to recover, helps that muscle to recover from the exercise, so to speak, or that work that was previously done. And it's worth noting that even after a strenuous workout, or after a series of demands that the muscle is experiencing, the blood flow, the increased blood flow just speeds up the process of recovery, speeds up the process of getting the muscle back to its original rested state, but then even stronger. And so that's huge when it comes to fitness, when it comes to doing your personal best, or getting faster and things like that. So it's pretty amazing. It's pretty amazing. And it just goes to show you that when you give your body what it needs, your body will perform better. And I know that I know we had, in a previous video, we had shared a little bit about Sean Burke, and Ricardo, I think you have some other information in regards to like when you apply the Renew 28 to a specific muscle group, and what the body does, and how it's able to perform. You have some other information about that one, right?
Just a general study that you referenced, showing that indicated the extra blood flow that that a Renew 28 provides to the body, or helps the body increase that blood flow in that area. I use it all the time. Like when I work out really, really hard, I make sure I have my Renew 28 and apply it on whatever muscles that I use that day. And it's really, yeah, I love it.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. And I want to share something really quick for everybody, just a piece of information, and we'll share a lot of these links with you so people can check it out themselves. But this was the metabolite study that Sean talked about. This is just like some more details on it. If anybody wanted to really check this out, this is the North Carolina for Human Performance. What is it, Sean?
The Human Performance Laboratory in Appalachian State University.
There we go. It just kind of like breaks down like some of the study in real detail, but it's really cool. It shows the different metabolites that were increased in the body, and it shows how much those specific metabolites were increased for those individuals that ingested ASEA and the placebo, which was saline. And also will point out this is like a very well respected institution. And so before they started this study, they had to confirm what they were actually giving their participants. So they had this, it's called like a nuclear spectrometer machine that tests, they use it all the time to test specifically what's in like, what they're giving to test subjects. So they needed to verify like what was in ASEA Redox, and they themselves confirmed for themselves that it contained redox signaling molecules, which they were actually really pretty shocked by. That ASEA had managed to stabilize and balance these molecules outside the body. So, and there's a video with Sean Burke, who we talked about in another video, and he explains, because he uses this with a lot of different athletes and trains athletes how to use the ASEA products to get the most out of their athletic careers or endeavors, how to use Renew 28 for that increased blood flow, and after whatever activity they're engaging in to get the most out of it. So I will share those links and some of the links to the study so people can check those out.
Well, great. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. Please click the link below and share and subscribe. And also check out in the details the links that Ricardo was referencing to the studies that we pointed to and shared a little bit of information from. So until next time, thank you so much.
Thanks, everybody.
Good to see you.
See ya.
Bye.